What song are we going to change now? Oh, just to prepare ourselves for Julian Yatra, which occurs in 2 days. Julian. We're going to chant this song, Jai Radha, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Let me get the guitar. Just get in the right mood. Okay. You get the guitar. Okay, here we go, gang. Jaya Radha, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Shikovinda Gopina Dhammadana. Oh, wait a second, do I have it set right? Sorry, it's not set for music, so you won't hear it properly. Okay, now it is. Shaima Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Jamuna Jaya Jaya Keshigat Vamshi Vada Dwara Shakana Nyakat Sabalila Koelo Shri Nana Shri Nana Jashoda Jaya Jaya Gopaka Shinamari Jaya Jaya Vatsu Tenu Vatsadana Jaya Rishabhanu Jaya Jaya Rishabhanu Jaya Kirtina Sundari Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Viranagari Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Jaya Viranagari Jaya Jaya Gopishara Vrindavan Jaya Jaya Krishna Sakya Bhakti Dvija Jaya Ramagata Jaya Rohini Nanda Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Basi Jata Jan Jaya Dvija Patni Jaya Nagakanyaga Bhakti Jaya Rapaila Govinda Jara Shri Rasamandala Jaya Jaya Radhashyam Jaya Jaya Rasa Lila Rasa Mananda Jaya Jaya Jwala Rasa Sarva Rasa Harakiya Pavaja Vrajate Shri Jangava Padma Korea Sarana Dina Krishna Tasa Kohe Namasang Kirtan Jaya Rane Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvatikacharya also Tera Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Vilas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagadasami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Budale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarne. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, let's read the translation to get in the mood for Julan Yatra. All glories to Radha Krishna and the divine forest of Vrindavan. All glories to the three presiding deities of Vrindavan, Sri Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan. All glories to Shamakunda, Radhakunda, Govardhan Hill, and the Yamuna River, Kalindi. All glories to the great forest known as Mahavana. All glories to Keshigat, the Vamshiva tree, and the 12 forests of Braja. At these places, the son of Nanda, Shri Krishna, performed all of his pastimes. All glories to Krishna's divine father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda. All glories to the cowherd boys headed by Sridham. All glories to the cows and calves of Braja. All glories to Radha's divine father and mother, Vrishabhanu, and the beautiful Kirtida. All glories to Purnamasi, the mother of Sandipani Muni. All glories to the young cowherd maidens of Braja. All glories to Gopishra Shiva, who resides in Vrindavan in order to protect the holy Dham. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahmin friend, Madhumangala. All glories to Ramagat, where Lord Balaram performed his rasa dance. All glories to Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini. All glories to all the residents of Vrindavan. All glories to the wives of the proud Vedic Brahmanas. All glories to the wives of the Kaliya serpent. Through pure devotion, they all obtain the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. All glories to the place where the rasa dance of Sri Krishna was performed. All glories to Radha and Shama. All glories to the divine rasa dance, which is the most beautiful of all Lord Krishna's pastimes. All glories to the medal of conjugal love, which is the most excellent of all rasas, and is propagated in Braja by Sri Krishna in the form of the divine Pataki above. Remembering the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda's consort, Sri Janava Devi, this very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna sings the Sankirtan of the holy name. That Krishnas Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. So now we're going to continue with our study of the Jaiva Dharma. We're on a very interesting section here. This is about the Madhurya Ras. Madhurya means the conjugal relationship that Krishna has with the gopis. Okay, so without further ado, Om Gana Timidandasha Gananjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master's divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torch light of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, share the screen. Here we go. Let us see. Here it is. All right. Okay. One more thing. All right. Move a few things around the screen. And we will check the volume just to make sure that it's loud enough for everybody. Should be. Yeah, it looks plenty loud. Okay, so, So here's the point. We were talking about Krishna's Rasa Leela, and in the Rasa Leela, he has pastimes with ostensibly people who are not married to him. And this is what we touched on before. So anyway, so really everyone is married to Krishna, or everyone belongs to Krishna. The word used for someone who doesn't belong to someone else, or is not connected to someone else's marriage, for the man is upapati. That means someone beyond the regular husband. Okay. So people accuse Krishna of being an upapati, and actually, in one sense he is, in another sense he's not. In the sense that he's not is because everybody belongs to him. He's the pati of everybody. There's no question of Krishna being an upapati of anybody because he belongs, or everyone belongs to him. What is that? Ishavashamidam sarvam yadkancha jagajam jagatena jaksena bhujiraka. That Krishna owns everything. And therefore he's lending us things. And we are thinking that we own something. Or one of you is thinking that you have a husband or a wife or something like that. But actually you don't. Krishna, your relationship is with Krishna, and these other relationships in this material world are temporary. Out of lobha means greed. For relishing this padakiya ras, means basically Krishna's relationship with ostensibly ladies who he's not married to. I'm saying ostensibly because he's actually married to everybody. But under Yogamaya means Krishna's internal, bewildering potency that actually makes everyone forget their ontological position. That means who they are and who Krishna is. So they begin to identify themselves, that's called the abhiman. They begin to have this self-conception of being married to someone else. And Krishna arranges that so he can enjoy the suspense, the sneaking, the anger, and all that other stuff that Krishna enjoys. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so much enjoyment. Yes, I mean, Krishna has some enjoyment with his wives, definitely. But even when he's with his wives, as we've mentioned many times before, he's thinking of the girls in Vrindavan. The wives are just reminding him of that padakiya ras that Krishna was experiencing. And that padakiya ras can only be experienced if the girl has the abhiman of being married to someone else. That's just an abhiman. And as we mentioned, abhiman means self-conception. And as we mentioned, in the material world, when there's Braj Gokul, when Vrindavan manifests in the material world, that conception actually becomes externally manifest. So in the material world, Radharani has the conception that she's married to her husband. Okay? Whose name is Abhimanyu, anyway. And in the material world, there is actually a person named Abhimanyu who acts as her husband. Okay, I think you understand. So the material world, the abhimans, the conceptions, manifest so that people can perceive them externally. So Krishna is allured into transgressing his inner Atmaram Dharma of being infinitely self-satisfied. In other words, Krishna is self-satisfied, but he transcends it or transgresses it to take satisfaction from others. And that's love. What do I mean by that? That Krishna doesn't need anybody. But because he loves us, therefore, he feels that he needs us. See, ontologically, that means by his nature, he doesn't need us. What is Krishna going to do with me? But out of his great compassion, he experiences the need for us to relate to him in an intimate way. And I'm going to give you a story that illustrates that. When Gopakumar, this is a story from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, when Gopakumar went back to Godhead eventually, or back to Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna just fainted when he saw him. He says, "Where have you been?" basically. And Krishna couldn't contain his ecstasy when he was greeting his dear devotee, coward boy, in the spiritual world. But Krishna doesn't need that to be happy. He's Atmaram. That's the Atmarama Dharma. He doesn't need that. But because of his love, then he experiences it as if he needed it, and that is Yogamaya. And that gives him more pleasure than simply being Atmarama. He engages in gorgeous pastimes such as the Rasa Lila with his beloved gopi sweethearts, who aptly consider themselves married to other gopas. So that's their abhiman. Their consideration of their identity is we're married to someone else, abhimanyu, or other, with other gopis and someone different. His vamshi means the flute that Krishna plays, becomes his priya, dear friend, to initiate these intimate pastimes of bliss. In other words, to start the Padikya Ras with the gopis, Krishna has to call for them. Now, instead of calling for the girlfriends like people would do in this material world, how would they do? They'd pick up their mobile phones and text, please come and greet me, or whatever. Please come and meet me. Text. Krishna does something different. He plays his flute. And his flute is I was going to use another word, a lot, infinitely better than texting on the mobile phone. Don't try that in this material world. You may play a flute, but don't try to attract your girlfriends with it. So the flute actually initiates. That's the initiation, which is actually interesting too, because it's described that Lord Brahma was initiated, even though he's not a gopi, by the flute song of Krishna, and that flute song became the Gayatri mantras. To facilitate Krishna's perfect enjoyment of Padikya Ras, that means the unmarried relationship, Padikya Bhav, unmarried emotion, is eternally displayed in Goloka, wherein innumerable sylvan bowers, that means bushes, bushes where they would have these pastimes, such as Keli Vrindavana, remain eternally in pastoral splendor. That means pastoral means like a pasture, farm, etc. Splendor as sites for his amorous play. This is real poetic language. Amorous means loving. The site of the Rasa Lila, now it's the dance we're talking about now, the Yamuna River, Giri Govardhan, and all the places of Krishna's Braja Gokul pastimes are completely available in Goloka. In other words, so in the material world, Krishna's pastimes are manifest in a place called Braja Gokula. And those same locations, the Yamuna, Govardhan, and all the locations you may see in Braja Gokula are present in the spiritual realm. So everything is exactly the same, but you got to have the vision to see it being exactly the same. Yes. So everybody has comments here. Yeah, Abhimanyu means one who was actually proud. But it's the Abhiman. The Abhiman means you're proud of who you are, or your conception of who you are. So, anyway, in this way, Padikya Bhav and Swakya Bhav, Padikya means the illicit, not illicit for Krishna, but married with relationship with other women other than his wife, emotion, and Swakya, his emotions when he is married, are present in Goloka as elements that churn delightful ras from the ocean of Krishna's most intimate pastimes. Actually, Shuddha Swakya Bhav, that means pure, married relationship, emotion. The purest form of the conjugal mood reigns resplendently in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means the spiritual realm outside of Goloka Vrindavan. So Padikya Ras, that means Krishna's relationship with ladies who have the abhiman of being married to someone else, but actually they're not. Padikya Ras is unique to Braja Vrindavan and also Goloka Vrindavan. And though viewed as illicit from the mundane platform, in essence it is non-different from Swakiya Ras. In other words, ontologically or in essence, it's the same thing as Krishna being married, because actually Krishna is married eternally to the gopis. And here this is explained. Because the young gopis are the eternal Shakti of Krishna, the eternal energy of Krishna. Ultimately, the Braja gopis must be regarded as Krishna's eternal conjugal consorts. In other words, they're eternally Krishna's. But for the sake of play, they assume the abhiman, the conception that they're connected to someone else and they're just sneaking around with Krishna. Immersed in the moods of swakiyatva, conjugal faithfulness, and dhampacha, conjugal love toward him, beginninglessly. In other words, they're focused on Krishna eternally. This is their nature. Padikya Bhav, that means the relationship between a man and a woman who are not married, is sustained in Goloka, spiritual world, by abhiman, spiritual conception. So here is the definition. A person sent me a message. In Braja Gokul, Abhimanyu and the other Gopas, Gopa means coward boys, are avatars of their respective abhimana in Goloka. You know, in other words, in Goloka, okay, Goloka is the spiritual world. Just reiterating. So the abhiman the gopis have in the spiritual world takes shape and descends as manifest coward boys who appear to be directly married to the gopis. So in Braja Gokul, that means this material world where Krishna's pastimes manifest, and sometimes they're not manifest, these gopas take birth and become the husbands of the gopis in order to foster the pastimes of Krishna, making Krishna the upapati and essential nayaka of Brajalila, the hero of Brajalila. Similarly, far beyond the reach of the external material nature, in the transcendental abode of Goloka, that means spiritual world again, all the varieties of abhiman fully nurture the rus of relationship. You know, all the varieties of people's conceptions. In Gokula, material world again, manifested within this material universe, the abhimanas of Goloka demonstrate their individual existence when Yogamaya arranges for them to take birth. So these personalities who are ostensibly married to the gopis are the personified individual conceptions that actually take form or appear or descend, avatar. For the gopis, this creates the experience of being married. However, in their eternal love for Krishna, the Braja gopis transgress the strictures of marriage, and thus Parikya Ras is fully nurtured in Gokula. In other words, that gives them the experience. So they're actually fully aware of their so-called husbands. This is all the play of Yogamaya. And as I mentioned before, Yogamaya is Krishna's internal potency that ranges for his pastimes. And a manifestation of Yogamaya is Vrindadevi, an expansion is Vrindadevi, whom I have pictures of here in my house. The doubts of Vijay Kumar dissipated as the dream faded away. His understanding that the transcendental abode of Goloka, that's the spiritual world and the spiritual sky, manifests as Gokula in the material world, became a firm conviction. The ecstatic revelation of his Tadatmya Swarup, his own individual spiritual identity in Braja Ras, in other words, he was realizing ecstatically who he was in the spiritual world or in Krishna's pastimes, began to gather momentum within his heart. And so his meditations upon the eternal Ashta Kaliya Leela Braj now turned deep and resolute. Again, I'm going to explain what the Ashta Kaliya Leela is. Ashta Kaliya Leela means Krishna does different things during each of the 8 times of the day. And when the devotees meditate on Krishna, the very, 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 very advanced devotees, not you, Prabhu, they actually connect the time of the day that they're experiencing externally with the time of Krishna's day. For example, I gave the example last night. For example, right now it's the early evening. Krishna is probably, at this particular point, if I was doing Ashtakaliya Leela, Krishna is returning from the pasturing grounds. He's going to be taking his bath. The gopis are going to bathe him. Then he's going to take something to eat. And so there's 8 different segments of the day. It's called Ashtakaliya Leela. Early next morning, he awoke, feeling overwhelmed with the mercy that his guru had showered upon you. He considered Gurudev has given unlimited mercy. Now I should hear directly from him about the differences of different elements of ras. It means taste and relationships, and so attain nishta, steadiness in bhajan. So nishta is actually a very interesting platform in bhajan. That nishta, of course, means steady. So there's 2 types of steadiness. Of course, steadiness during the bhajan, in bhajan, and there's also steadiness 24 hours a day, according to Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. So some people are steady in their bhajan, they'll wake up early in the morning, chant Hare Krishna, with great attention every morning. They're like lines on a stone, their particular activities which cannot be erased. And then as soon as the Hare Krishna is over, then all hell breaks loose. They get into Maya. That's not the highest stage of Nishta. So we're interested in the highest stage, which means 24 hours a day. So that's not an artificial attainment. Completing his noon prasadam, Vijay Kumar arrived at the ashram of his guru, falling at his feet in tears of ecstasy. Srila Gopal Guru Goswami slowly lifted him up and sat him down with loving care. Srila Goswami said, "Son, I see that Krishna has blessed you. I feel blessed just by seeing you." So the guru was not thinking, oh, he's just a little puny disciple. He's actually thinking himself more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. As he spoke, Srila Goswami entered the throes of divine rapture, means ecstasy. He embraced Vijaya and began to recite a song from Prema Vivarta. Prema Vivarta is the book written by Jagannatha Pandit, who was Satyabhama, or is Satyabhama in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. In Krishna's pastimes, it was Satyabhama, but he appears as Jagannatha Pandit. Prasanaya Krishna Yare Kripakare Se Janadanya E Sangsara Vitare. When Krishna is pleased with someone and showers his divine mercy, mercy divine, then blessed is that soul, light of the earth. Golokera Paramabhava Tarachite Spure Gokule Golokapaya Maya Pade Dure. The most sublime bhava of Goloka stirs in the depths of his heart. Goloka manifests in Gokul, and Maya recedes into some long forgotten past. Now, the Maya referred to here is material illusion. It dissipates. So our method of getting rid of illusion is to manifest the bhav, or the emotion, of Goloka. And we do that by associating with those who are actually absorbed in Goloka, and by what? Serving them, and by chanting the Lord's holy names, and hearing about the pastimes in Goloka. After his son, for a long time, Srila Gopal Guru Goswami's ecstasy gradually subsided, and he became aware of his external surroundings. Vijay Kumar first offered repeated obeisances to his guru, and then began to speak. Vijay said, Gurudev, I have no comprehension of Krishna Kripa. That means the mercy of Krishna. Oh, actually it's defined here, the mercy of Krishna. Yet I am firmly convinced that your mercy is the cause of all my spiritual progress. I have stopped trying to force myself to perceive Goloka, being now very satisfied to realize Rajagokul. In other words, he was trying to force himself to perceive Krishna's pastimes in the spiritual world, but now he's understanding the non-difference of those pastimes, and how in the material world it's like a little easier to understand the pastimes. Why is it a lot easier? Because the abhimans that were there in the spiritual realm descend as avatars, as actual people that can be seen to one's vision. Not us, because we can't see them now. Now I wish to understand properly the varieties of Brajaras. Kindly explain, the taste of the relationships in Braj. Braja Gokul. Kindly explain if the unmarried gopis of Gokula who maintain the mood that Krishna would be their husband may be called Swakiya or not. So he's talking about the unmarried gopis of Gokul, that's in this world, who maintain the mood that Krishna would be their husband, even though he wasn't, may be called Swakiya or not, or married or not. Goswami says, yes, since they maintain the firm conviction that Krishna will be their husband, these unmarried gopis attain at that particular time Swakiya Bhav. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So the gopis who weren't married, who didn't have the abhiman, or the manifested abhiman of husbands, who were thinking that Krishna is going to be my husband in the future, so it's all right for me to associate with him, they attained Swakiya Bhav, the married relationship with Krishna. It's interesting. So if someone worships Krishna simply with the Vaidhi sadhana, then in the conjugal mood, then that's what they'll attain. Intrinsically, however, the Gokula gopis, that means the gopis in this world, are connected to Krishna in Padakiya Bhav. So intrinsically, it's part of their nature. In this particular case, although these unmarried gopis are not ultimately of Swakiya nature, their Swakiya Bhav is perfectly integrated into the Gokula pastimes because the desired marriage to Krishna is eventually fulfilled in secret by Gandharva Vivaha Riti, the Gandharva rite of marriage by the mutual exchange of garlands. So, it's interesting. That is very interesting. So ultimately, they are connected in Parakiya, but they have a desire to be married to Krishna, and so there's a secret exchange of garlands. And actually, you'll even see that with Srimati Radharani. In certain of the pastimes in Braj, Krishna and Radharani are actually exchanging garlands and getting married secretly. So this happens from from time to time. Vijay said, Gurudev, I have numerous queries, these questions, and I wish to understand your answers in the light of the philosophy delineated in the Ujjvala Nilamani. Ujjvala Nilamani is the postgraduate study of the Nectar of Devotion, or the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is the same. First, I would like to get a clear conception of Nayaka. The text of, like the heroes or the males, and the female would be Nayaka. The text of the Ujjvala Nilamani says that there are 4 types of Nayakas. One is Anukula, favorable. Next is Dakshina, which means guileless, straightforward. Shata, duplicitous. And Drishta, audacious. Kindly explain the... This is really quite interesting. At least I find it interesting. Kindly explain the Anukula Nayaka. Goswami explains the Nayaka who is faithfully in love with just one consort without aspiring for further romantic liaisons is called Anukula, the favorable Nayaka. Shri Ram epitomizes this mood towards Sita Devi, and Shri Krishna does so towards Srimati Radharani. So I guess he switches his mood from time to time. Vijay says, earlier you spoke of the 4 kinds of Nayakas. Dhirodata, Dhira Lalita, Dhira Shanta, and Dhira Dota. What is the relationship between these 4 types of Nayaka and the second set of 4 Nayakas we have just mentioned? This gets a little more complicated, but at least you should appreciate this, even if you don't remember this. What, for example, are the characteristics of the Dhiro Data Anukula Nayaka? It's a peaceful thing. Goswami said, a Dhiro Data Anukula Nayaka is grave, humble, forgiving, compassionate, fixed in his resolve, not boastful of himself, modest, and is very noble and generous. However, he is also quick to forsake all these qualities and run secretly to meet his Nayaka, sweetheart heroine. That's what Nayaka means, sweetheart heroine. Vijay Kumar says, kindly describe the Dhira Lalita. Dhira Lalita is very playful. Anukula Nayaka. The qualities of Dhira Lalita Anukula Nayaka are brilliant wit. And see, these are all qualities of Krishna, exhibiting in different circumstances. And Krishna has all these qualities, and he is flowing from the exhibition of one of these qualities or several of these qualities to another. The Dhira Lalita. So we got 4 times 4, which is basically 16 different types of Nayakas, or heroes. The Dhira Lalita Anukula Nayaka are brilliant wit, ever youthful, relisher of rasa, self-confident, without anxiety. When these attributes are features of his character, he is combined with the constant enjoyment of pleasure. He is called the Dhira Lalita Anukula Nayaka. Vijay asks, what is the nature of the Dhira Shanta Anukula Nayaka? So as I said, we got all these permutations. You got 4 times 4, 16. Goswami said his nature is peaceful, tolerant, considerate, and he's guided by his conscience. Vijay says, and the Dhiro Dota Anukula. These, as I said, these are all qualities of Krishna. So we should appreciate how wonderful Krishna is to exhibit these qualities. He's the foremost dramatic actor, and he enjoys this, and his devotees enjoy this. And the Dhirodata Anukula Nayaka is when the personality of Dhirodata Nayaka, which is marked by envy, pride, deceptiveness, anger, and self-praise, becomes favorable. He is known as the Dhirodata Anukula Nayaka. So, he's favorable, but he's still envious and proud and angry, etc. how may a Nayaka hero become Dakshina? Goswami answers, the word Dakshina means honest and guileless. A Dakshina Nayaka does not lessen his respect, fear, and submissive love for his first Nayaka, that's the girl, even when he becomes romantically attached to another Nayaka. Therefore, he maintains relationships of equal depth with many Nayakas simultaneously and called a Dakshina Nayaka. What are the symptoms of a Shata Nayaka? Remember, we're hearing symptoms and descriptions of Krishna. So just appreciate. There's not going to be any tests on this. You can go back to the spiritual world without remembering all these things. But this is very, very definitive, very, very, very precise. Goswami says, the Nayaka who is amiable, that's Krishna, who is amiable and sweet in presence of the Nayaka, his girlfriend, but vituperative and offensive behind her back is called Shata, two-faced. Okay. Let me just get an exact definition of vituperative. Vituperative. Okay, here's the exact dictionary definition. Bitter and abusive. Not, criminally abusive. Uttering or giving to censure, containing or characterized by verbal abuse. Woo! My God. The example here given in the dictionary, Cambridge Dictionary, is Miss Snowden yesterday launched a vituperative attack on her ex-boss and former lover. Uttering or giving harsh and abusive criticism. Yeah, that's my Krishna. I mean, it's interesting when Krishna does it, it's out of love. It's two-faced. So Vijay asks, what are the symptoms of the Drishta Nayaka? A Nayaka, this is the hero again, who carries signs of intimacy with another Nayaka girl upon his body, but boldly and glibly lies in the presence of the Nayaka, who is presently with him, is a Drishta Nayaka, audacious romantic hero. Vijay asks, how many types of Nayakas are there altogether? Goswami answered, as far as we are concerned, Krishna is the only Nayaka. That's true, he's the only hero. In Dwaraka, he is Purna, complete. In Mathura, he is Purnatara, more complete. And in Braj, he is Purnatala, most complete. Since Krishna is both Pati and Upapati in the three grades of completeness, in other words, he's married and has unmarried relationships too, in the three grades of completeness, we reach 6 varieties of Nayakas. Oh, 6. Then we compound the 4 kinds of Nayakas, such as Dhiradatta. Okay, that's 6 times 4, so I had to start with 4 in the beginning. So anyway, then we compound the 4 kinds of Nayakas, such as Dhiradatta, etc., with that previous 6, making 24 varieties of Nayakas. So 6 times 4. And when this 24 is multiplied by the second set of 4 Nayakas, wait a second. Oh my God. So it's 4 and 4. Then we were at 96 types of Nayakas. Oh my God. That's my Krishna. That's my little Krishna. So, and an unlimited variety within each one of those types of Nayakas, within each one of Krishna's pastimes. How interesting Krishna is. Not some dull, dry God, he's really interesting. All right, so now we'll stop sharing. It's a really interesting subject matter today. Okay, so anybody who has a question can either type in the chat window, or they can raise their hands, or they can unmute themselves, because you're allowed to unmute yourselves now.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances.
My blessings. So, what's the question?
Well, with those qualities, I don't know whether I'm even qualified to ask, but envy. Krishna has envy. What is an example of it? What is he envious of? Oh, what could be an example?
Good, an example Krishna is envious of.
Yes.
Krishna, because we're paying attention to this material world, so Krishna's envious. He wants us to pay attention to himself. He's the ultimate egotist. So that's his rasa. Out of rasa, there has to be envy. All these different emotions that we have in this world have to be exhibited in God. They have to come from God somehow or other. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be here. These emotions we wouldn't have unless these emotions were in God.
Never
So,
quite see him in that light to be envious of anything.
you could say that Krishna is envious that his girlfriends are with their husband or something like that. I mean, that Krishna definitely does exhibit envy because his envy is pure. He exhibits anger and everything like that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So,
Haribo.
so here's a question in the text or the chat window. How can we know if our dreams with Guru are bona fide or not? Just ask. And if the Guru's not around, just ask someone who can interpret dreams. Someone who is able to have the spiritual insight to know whether it's bona fide. You know, you could have so many dreams with the Guru and they may not be bona fide. So, anyway, just check with the other Vaishnavas. You had a dream that Guru Maharaj told you to take sannyas. So, you have to check if you should take sannyas. All right, so who else has a question?
Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances.
Okay, Rakesh, so what's the question?
It's from the yesterday's class. Book. You said bhukta pralaya, and my question is like during Mahavishnu's like when Mahavishnu in hell, the entire manifestations become.
You said Mahavishnu is in hell. He's never in hell.
You said when he inhaled, the entire manifestations goes into his body. When he exhaled, everything comes out from his breath.
Everything comes out, but he's not in hell.
So how would you exhale if you don't inhale?
How could Mahavishnu be in hell?
I think he said inhale.
Oh, inhale. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh, inhale, not. Yeah.
All right, you need an interpreter. So anyway, so when he inhales, all the universes go within his body and they contract, and when he exhales, all the universes come out.
Yes. So if that's I think we from Bhagavatam, that's what it is. So then how come, like yesterday in class, like the Krishna's pastimes are going on the entire, like in the universe, one after another in a sequence, like how could that be possible at some point of time when there's no material manifestation? This will come to us.
Yeah, when there's no material manifestation, obviously there's no pastimes going on. When all the material, when Mahavishnu breathes in, there's no pastimes in the material world going, but there's pastimes in the spiritual world.
So the next question is like, since the pastimes are going in like one material world to another, it is a pre-recorded movie or something, or each and individual pastimes are different?
It's not a movie. They're all different. They're different in each place. There's variety, infinite variety. It's not like a movie that's pre-recorded. The Krishna's going to exactly do something the same way he did on this earth planet in some other universe. It's not. It's not a movie. It's just that Krishna has his normal pastimes, but things happen differently. There's variety. There are many more demons than we read about in the Krishna book. There's variety in Krishna's killing the demons. Krishna does things with variety, but the general outline is there. But Krishna, Krishna just wings it, for lack of a better word. He's spontaneous. He could just change things, according to the way he feels. I mean, there's always Vrindavan, there's always Mathura, there's always the talks of about Kamsa, but things happen differently. Okay, so here's some questions in the chat window. First, in the Nectar of Devotion, the example of Krishna's envy is that he wrote a letter to Pundraka, referring to him as a frog, and Krishna is the black snake coming to eat him. Yeah, that's his anger. I don't know if it's exactly envy. Yeah, well, if it gives it that example in the Nectar of Devotion, it's envy. So usually envy is something you don't have. Maybe similar to a manifestation of envy, but it has a different quality. With Krishna, it's a different quality, because with us, we want something that someone else has. I mean, for example, I was just communicating with one of my godbrothers, Tejas, who's a very, very nice devotee, and he was expressing all of his pastimes with Prabhupada, and I said, I am envious of you. And I am, because I wish I had all those different pastimes like Tejas had. He's writing a book. I'm trying to encourage him to write a book. So, anyway, I think Krishna Priya had a question. She just put her hand down. Did you have a question, Krishna Priya?
I did, but I just thought it was getting near the end. But my question was kind of a quick thing. So we were talking about how the different abhimans, how they manifest as, the cowherd girls' husbands, like Abhimanyu.
Yeah.
And one thing I was reflecting on, like Krishna's pastimes are so attractive. So, like here, it seems that because they actually manifest, it allows for like so much joking and fun, like the box story and Krishna taking the form of deities and like so many different things with Abhimanyu. So is it like manifesting in this world because it also is a way to attract us to Krishna's pastimes, because there's so much humor and intrigue?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we all know that there's certain pastimes that only occur in the material world. Like the pastime of Krishna being born. So there are certain things that only occur in this world, and there's some very special pastimes. Yeah, obviously, in the spiritual world, how could Krishna put on the guise of Abhimanyu and make believe he was him when it's not manifest in the spiritual world, right? That the Abhiman is not manifest like that. Yeah, that's a good point. There are certain pastimes, and we know basically a lot of the childhood pastimes are only there in this world rather than in the spiritual realm. Because Krishna's always 16 years of age. Like we have the pastime of Krishna grabbing hold of the calf's tail and using the calf to pull him, sliding in the mud or whatever. And then Krishna's a little toddler at that point. But in the spiritual world, Krishna doesn't manifest as a toddler. He's always Nava Yovana, always new youth. So that's a very good point. Okay, so on that happy note, it is time to end. Thank you all very much. Interesting discussion about Krishna's pastimes. It's quite complicated, but at least we appreciate how wonderful and interesting Krishna is. Okay, all glory is to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. right. Let me just end.